Well, here we go. We live. Just making sure everything's still up and running. Yeah, everything still seems to be going good. And looking like the microphone and everything's good. I see there's at least one person in the chat, and I'm just barely off screen over here. Because I need to pull something up real quick. There we go. Hopefully you guys are not getting any feedback, but went ahead and I actually ended up getting everything done. So, ended up getting the armature actually fixed, and in the process of doing that, ended up cleaning up the desk a little bit. So you're probably going to get a ton of feedback as I'm super close to the mic and so is the armature. But things can move and shift around. Let's close that door real quick. It's like I know my stream's going and the audio's there. So I went ahead and I actually made a little board there so I could keep track of everything that I need to do. But on top of that, I went ahead and cleared out the desk a little bit as well. So you guys can see, I ended up getting a ton of stuff done. Ended up clearing this out a whole ton, and now you guys can go ahead and see me doing all the crafting stuff. And I can actually bring you guys in super close as a part of that. So not only can you see the crafting that I'm doing, but I can actually bring you in super close. So like if I'm doing really tight work here, and I'm doing like stitching, for example, all I have to do is just go off camera for a bit. And apologies for the noise. I can actually get you really close. And you can actually see me work with a lot of the more intricate stuff that I would be doing, which is fantastic. Which, one of the things that I want to do is, sorry. One of the things that I want to do that's on my docket is that I've got a wallet, I've got a phone case, and I got some boot hooks that I need to fix. So the phone case in question I brought up last time, and you can see actually that it's separating right there. So I need to bust that stitching and then need to restitch it. So I dug into my stuff. I found the needles that I want to use. I've got the thread here as well, and then I can actually go ahead and I can actually mount this onto here And I could actually go ahead and I could do all the stitching then. And you can actually go ahead and kind of like watch and see me do that. And we could chat. You guys get to watch me go through this process and talk about how it's all done. The other thing that I want to do as well is, since most of the table has been cleared out, there's a couple other things that I might do during this stream as well. Is I might do some organization of the leather punches that I got. Might do I might actually get the measuring mat that normally lays over the entire table that I could use for other cutting, so you guys can see me do all that as well. And again, to reiterate what was on the opening screen, as well as what on the opening screen, as well as the previous videos, is that I'm going to be doing I'm going to be slowly migrating over into Twitch. In the process of going over to Twitch, like, you guys can, like, I guess, like, redeem, like, watch channel points and, like, send messages or send messages or sounds or stuff like that. So it can make it so that you guys can actually interact with me more. Jeez, my friend's wanting to watch. Sorry, everyone. Oh, man. Alright, I actually do need to grab something real quick that I realized. I need to grab some stuff for my coffee. Coffee is love. Coffee is life. I'm sorry, everyone. Give me a second. There we go. Now that that's done, and I think last thing that I want to do, I'll shift that over there. Do I have enough? Will that be enough? Possible. That'd probably be enough. So we're gonna get into repairing this phone case. I can actually start using it now. I haven't used this thing in forever. I don't need that much. Don't need that much thread for what I'm doing. There we go. Like, trying to think of like a different way that I can set this up. That'll probably be later. If there's anything up with the audio, let me know. Because there shouldn't be. But I've been wrong before. Yeah, back when I was doing YouTube and doing a bunch of the gaming stuff, I had been doing this as well, like on the side, or like between streams. But the situation, be that as it may, I couldn't really do streaming that much anymore when life and the pandemic changed and I had to work 2 jobs. I was doing the gaming thing because that's something that I could like have my fursuit on while doing the stream, but part of the problem that I also had was like it was something that I was doing and focusing on my career. So being able to do gaming consistently was something that was extremely hard for me because like I had an interest but wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. You know what? I'm going to do one more change in the camera setup. This part's actually bothering me a bit. Give me a second. You guys are probably going to get a lot of additional audio feedback here for a second. That I actually think works better. The only thing that's bothersome is the cable for the camera. But otherwise this works out exceedingly well. A lot better than what I thought I was going to be doing. Yep, I like that better. Alright. I'm gonna get some of that out of the way. This works so much better. In my opinion, at least. Yeah, no, that works beautifully. Alright, and I'll try to keep the camera in frame the entire time. So that you guys can go ahead and see me actually working on all this. But sometimes when you're doing this type of stitching work, you can't exactly get that. So I'm gonna have to bust the stitching out of this first. And I can actually see your guys' comments in the chat too. So I can actually reply and talk to you guys as well. Alright, first things first. Let's bust the joining stitching on this thing. You have seen so much action. I need my pliers. Right when I thought I had a process and an orientation of some of these things, turns out I need to go ahead and I need to reorient it all anyway. Because I messed it all up and I did not consider a thing or two when organizing this. Holy shit, that's heavy. Who would have thought that heavy things would be heavy? And I should have known that this would have been heavy. But no, being an idiot. Is that? Yes. That was going to be my worry. Alright, got a couple more things to bust out on us. Or at least hope. Don't know if this will I'm making sure I'm getting all the old threads out when I'm doing this. It'll make it look a lot nicer and cleaner in the end. I'm also going off of memory the last time that I had to do anything on this, which was years ago. And how it was constructed. So I'm fairly certain how I did it. There we go. Yep, my memory was correct. Alright, so the real question. So the trick in doing, well, at least the trick in doing this part of leather crafting, let's see, as is always, let's see, orientation wise, so I need to keep you guys in the loop. Jeez. If only it was that easy. Leave. Yes. I'm looking at the orientation of this and making sure that it looks straight. I'm looking at it dead on. Yeah. Alright. Yep. Okay. So, the type of stitching that is done here is known as a saddle stitch. And essentially what you're doing is you're looping it in on itself over and over. Make sure this is even. I'm gonna bring you guys down just a bit. That's better. Have some of my own morning coffee for that. So, to make sure you have yourself a nice, secure, and a secure saddle stitch is that you have to actually go ahead and double back on the stitching. So you'll see that I'm actually going back on one hole. God, the calluses on my hands are gone, so that poking into poking into a needle actually hurts. Who would have guessed? There we go. It'll be easier to if I wasn't doing such a complex item. It would be a lot easier to convey this and explain. But come on. There we go, there's one. And there's two. Alright. This thing is still super loose because I don't have the rest of the saddle stitch going. But effectively what you're doing is that when you're going through a hole, you're taking both needles, you're going through the same hole, you're tightening it all, and then you're going back through the holes again. And you're starting to funnel your way through it. It'll make more sense, there's videos out there that do a better job than me at explaining it, especially when I'm this early in the morning and not hopped up on enough caffeine. And there's one. Come on. There we go. Okay. So I've got the needle going in through that hole. I'm going to take that other needle. I'm going to go through the exact same hole that it is in. Actually, both holes, because it'll be hard to see, but you're actually going to be going through that same hole on the back end here. So right now, that's still the original, or the one that's coming out through the other direction. This is also particularly tricky because I'm actually going through technically 4 layers of leather in trying to do this. Because, oh, God, that hurts. All right, and push that needle back. There we go. So hopefully you can see how I got both needles. I got one coming through from my thumb coming out, and then I got the other one coming from this finger coming out on the inside. The way I've described it before is almost like as if it's a double helix. That's probably not anywhere close to being accurate, but screw it. Come on. There we go. Now that I'm not fighting 2 bits of metal and 4 things of leather, that will go easier. So I just tighten that down, and then we go to the next hole, which I'm going to adjust you guys again, so there we go. Just going through the hole there. Got that one started. And this one is 1 hole behind. So we're going to get that through eventually. Never before has anyone tried to get something so big into something so small. There we go. That's a nice tight fit. There we go. I'm going to leverage the leather of the phone holster to make that work. Come on this side. Pull that one. There we go. Make the hair tighter. And we go to the next hole. And for anyone that's in the chat, please, by all means, go ahead and leave a comment. It's meant to be a very chill Sunday morning. To hang out with you guys, especially after I've been quiet for so long with job stuff and having to purchase a home, and the process of moving, and the pandemic. So that's actually something that I wanted to talk about briefly. Not necessarily the pandemic, more so the events that led up to my internet silence for so long. So when the pandemic hit, right before the pandemic hit, I previously was working a job at an engineering facility. A lot of my older videos, I think, made a reference to it, or something alluding to it, or that it was an engineering type job in the auto industry. And that job was
8 to 5. I was 2 blocks from the job, so I had space and time for days to fucking do stuff. I could wake up like 15 minutes before I had to go to work, and I had still plenty of time to get there. I had plenty of time to do my morning routine stuff that I needed to. And I would leave work at 5, and I'd be home at 8:05. Or 5:05. 5 minutes after. And I would have space and time for days to just do what I wanted to. You know, I could go to Planet Fitness, I could go work out, I can do all these other things, you know, and then I could come home and I could stream at like 8 o'clock until midnight, you know, and I'd still be able to get a full night's rest, because I could go ahead and I could wake up like 10 minutes before I had to go to work and get there on time and still get a full 8 hours. But unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, I lost that job. And I had to, and I was still doing the streaming thing, or YouTube, furry stuff. All furry stuff stopped because, well, not talking about me specifically, but I'm talking more so the community itself, because of the pandemic. You know, conventions stopped, bowling meets stopped, you know, so I did a lot of gaming because that's really all I could do when you're cooped up in your own home because of the pandemic. Then I got put in a situation, as I had mentioned in one of my videos in the past. I was put in a situation where, sorry, I realized I was out of camera frame, where my options were to get a job that I hated, but it was one that I needed to do because I was about to lose my apartment. And if I renewed the lease that I was at, it would have been a little over $1,000. But I would not have been making money, or if I was, it was going to be at a job that I wasn't making nearly enough to be able to cover that and bills and everything. So if I went to go look for a different unit or different apartment, usually you have to have proof of income. Well, it was the pandemic. The Social Security, or not Social Security, the unemployment stuff was about to stop for me. It was about to stop the same time that my lease was ended. So I had no income, and I wasn't renewing the lease that I was at because it was way too damn expensive. And I was forced to get a job, which is not the problem. The problem was that the job was paying $10 an hour, and I was working 70 plus hours a week. I'll continue that story in a second. So, you might have noticed like I was going like back and forth. I went up and then double backed 2 sets of the holes here. Now, part of the reason why doing that is because this corner edge, and I did that already at the start over on this side. So I went like pretty much starting 1 hole back from where you otherwise would normally do the stitching. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, going down, and then double backed here. So now these edges are reinforced. But to tie it up, or otherwise to tie and finish it off, all I gotta do is just tie a knot off on the inside. What I do is I do a square knot in hopes that it doesn't fall apart. Because if anything on leather tends to fall apart, it's always going to be the stitching. It tends to be the weakest part, because leather itself will treat you good. If you treat leather well, leather treats you well. Gonna trim that down a bit, and I've got those tail ends. And now I just need to go ahead and burn those off. It causes them to melt. This is actually a beeswax coated thread, so it actually helps slide through the leather a little bit easier, but if anything were to nick it, the wax actually kind of helps minimize the amount of damage that it would be going through, that the thread itself would be going through that's actually in the item itself. So I need to grab a lighter, which is one of the things I don't have here, so hang tight 1 moment. I will be right back. And by lighter, I mean butane torch. So, good old butane torch. That's the trick. This is what I was doing and using before. Part of the reason why is because I can have a lot more control. And once that's melted, and now I got myself, hopefully it catches it, nice finished thing there, and it's flush to it. And this actually will, and now I can go back to using this thing again. And this actually is a gun holster clip that I used in constructing this. So this thing actually is meant to like be in a belt and never move around. So that is one thing done. Now, the other thing, and realizing that I don't have it, sorry about the noise. One of the other things that that is on our list is actually a wallet. There's a small part of it that is that started to fall apart. Again, it was the stitching as expected. So I need to go ahead and I need to repair that. That is actually in another room again. So I will be right back. Okay, so the mic came back. I accidentally kicked it and the USB came off. So we'll try this again. Gotta take a lot of things out of the wallet itself. But I'll show you that in just a second. No need to have personal information out on the internet. Not that stupid. I am stupid, but I'm not that stupid. Alright. So, next thing on the list is that wallet. Now you see where it was starting to fall apart here? This normally would be together. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to reinforce this again. Now this is a brown stitching that we're using here. So rather than the black stuff that I was using before, that can go away. We're going to be using our brown stitching here. This, again, probably will not need that much. This will actually be something that I can actually more easily show you guys all how the thread or that saddle stitching is done. But this is an unwaxed thread, and we need to wax this up. We've got ourselves the beeswax right here. So all we're doing is we're just running this through this hunk of beeswax right here. And this will give us the wax coating that I oh so desire. Give me fuel, give me fire, give that beeswax which I desire. Yeah, this will be a lot easier to show that saddle stitching method that I was talking about before. Yeah, that'll do. Yep, perfect. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing real quick. So there's a leather stool that I have can't remember how I originally got a hold of this, but I ended up going ahead and ended up reupholstering it. Reupholstered it so that it actually has a leather seat to it instead. But one of the things that was nice about getting it is that it gave me a nice consistent seat that I could use and be at a good height for leather crafting. So we need those 2 needles again. I'm going to adjust you guys, so hang tight. So this sewing horse right here is actually, this is essentially what it's meant for. You know, you put the 2 legs of it actually underneath your thighs. You can actually have this nice up and close to you. And then in your case, you guys can actually see this, and this is why I wanted that armature done, is so that you guys can actually see me working on this stuff and, you know, be really close to it, and I can actually have this sewing horse actually between my legs and underneath my legs where I need it, so that I can actually do the work I need to. Glorious bean juice. We're gonna top that off real quick. All right. I gotta make sure that this can actually get through into the eyelet. What I was doing there and what I did on the last one, but that's... come on. Behave. Might need to give that a little bit more of a wax coating. There we go. That's a lot better. Have to do that on this end too. There we go. All right. So I want to make sure that this is actually reinforced well. So what I'm going to do is, this is where it's starting to fall apart back here. So I'm going to start on this hole here. I can get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on that hole there. I'm going to go back 1 hole when I'm doing the stitching, and then continue down, and then essentially double back up there again. So take that out, and I'm just grabbing both the needles and bringing them up. Make sure I got equal lengths. Just going back a hole. Come on. Oh yeah, my fingers do not have the grip they once did. So I've got that in the hole. Back on that. So that was the double back I was talking about. And give that a nice little twinge there. And we go back into the holes. And we just start going down the line the way we came. So, I was talking about the pandemic situation. Got a job working in the automotive sector. It was something that I knew was only going to be a temporary job. But I snagged that job, And I had to snag a job at a workout club as well. I had to snag both of those jobs in order to make sure that I can meet the bills and still have enough money to do what I needed to in order for my transition, because I was also having to pay out of pocket for the laser hair removals that I needed. So I was having to work 80 hours, approximately 80 hours, 75 to 80 hours a week there we go. 75 to 80 hours a week to make sure I was making bills and having the money necessary so that I could, continue on with my transition. And as a result, I had zero time for anything else. I couldn't do anything else in the furry community. This had to go onto the wayside because this was only while I was doing that engineering job in the automotive sector. So furry went to the wayside, this went to the wayside. I had to deconstruct the bench. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money, I didn't have the space to do it. And I was at that apartment for about 2 years. And then after getting out, when that apartment lease was about to come up, that was about to end at the time frame that I potentially was about to have my transition surgery. So my options were get out of there and get into a home and figure out my situation around bills and everything and the costs as best I can, whether that was trying to sell this, do some fundraising, or my options were hold out on the apartment, see if maybe the housing market tanks, but if I got my transition surgery confirmation, then I would be recovering in an apartment with neighbors, not able to guarantee that I had any level of sound sleep because because I was at ground floor. So I would actually be getting and hearing like lawn workers and shared walls with neighbors and everything. So I was in a situation where it's like I need to make sure that I have a safe spot for me and my recovery from surgery, and I'm not doing this apartment hopping bullshit again. I was done with it. I was fed up. So I went ahead and I made the leap. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get myself a home and we'll figure it out. And luckily I had a lot of people and friends in the furry community and a bunch of other friend circles that I had that were able to help out in some capacity, whether it was, hey, like here's $20 that can help cover gas to help your friends, whether it was, a couple of people that I had to donate to the GoFundMe that I had. That was, I think that only got like $500, but that $500 ended up helping me so much in doing all that. And with what I thought I was going to be able to do in terms of, doing streaming while I was recovering, that just was not going to happen. That surgery took a lot out of me. It took a lot more out of me than I gave myself, and took a lot of energy, a lot more energy than I thought or gave myself credit for. So I just, I'm exceedingly grateful for the people and the friends that I have, and the communities that I have that have been able to help me out in all this. Also trying to keep an eye on the time, because I do not want to infringe on Alkali and Zanny in doing their stream. Okay. So I got as far over that I need to in order to reinforce all this. So I'm going to go back on a hole to go and reinforce that edge so that it won't come apart. Oh, come on. There we go. Go back on this hole. Yeah, and when you're doing this, this actually gets really, really tough because you're having to go through the amount of layers of leather that you have. But then the hole that you otherwise would be stitching through has, in my case, not only the original stitching that I had, but it has the original stitching, the first layer of reinforcement, and then when I'm doubling back, you know, it has a little bit more. But we're almost done with this one. I need to go ahead and I need to tie this off, but I want this to be a nice, clean exterior finish. So there is a way to do this. So you get the needle into the first hole, but you do not take it all the way and into the second hole. The reason being is if I can get it in to show you guys, effectively what you do is you only get it in through the first hole. The first hole, not the second one with the piece of leather. That thread then is actually on the inside. I can actually then tie it so that it's in on the inside and then burn it so it's on the inside so it can't be seen. That is a bit of a task to do sometimes. Because especially when it's already, because you're going into something that's already been stitched, it sometimes is tricky. Ha! So you see how it's actually, the needle's going actually in between. You need to do that on the other side. Oh, come on. We'll get this eventually. Am I even going in through the right? Like sitting here, I'm just like, am I going into the right hole? Things that every dude has said ever. Haha! There we go. So, I'm gonna pull this through. I'm gonna pull this all the way through and I can get rid of the needle. Because I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna do the same thing here. So now, we're on this inside lip here. So, this is where things get a little tricky. So there's the first part of the knot. And there's, come on, give me my square knot. There's that. Now we just need to trim these off. Hold that there, grab a knife. There we go. And with that, last thing we gotta do, burn the edge. They say don't play with fire, ladies and gentlemen. That is all too true. Nice. And now, we have ourselves a repaired wallet. Now, almost done, not fully out of the woodwork yet. So there's a couple of things that we can do to finish this off. So hang on a second, you guys are gonna go for a ride. So I'm muting the microphone every time I need to do that so that you guys aren't hearing so much feedback. All right, so that's all done and handled. I'm gonna move the stool out of the way. There we go. All right, now that's all in and done. Get a little bit of dirty bean juice in you. Ah, beautiful. So almost done with this segment. Time, I got about 40 minutes left. Can probably fix the boot hooks as well. We will see. So, one of the finishing touches that is typically done on leatherwork, because you see how like the corners are curled over there, that's something that just kind of happens. You can also tell how much this thing has been aged with how dark the leather is versus what it is. And actually, I have a near copy. Actually, I do have a copy of this. That's after a ton of life and use. This was the original color that it normally was, and this is after a ton of wear and being in the pants and everything. It's a near carbon copy, because this one I actually did a black interior. On this one was just an original brown leather, but you can see how much, well, mainly the outside, you can see how much this is aged. So a lot of love and care goes into leather work, and again, if you take care of it, it takes care of you. I've had this for about 3 years or so, still going strong. Oh, holy cow, there's a lot of comments in there. I did not even notice. Oh my god, Saturn. Ceiling fan collector, holy cow. I'm catching up on all this, holy cow. How do you make content for? I'm taking that. Sorry, I'm catching up on a lot of that. And then Isaac's in here too, holy cow. I got people in here now. Yay! I've got my phone here so I could see the comments, but I was getting caught up in the leatherworking stuff. So in case you guys missed it, obviously you're seeing my phone there. I'm going to get that out of the way. Oh no, that'll give you an echo. Yeah, this was something that I was doing before. I normally would be on camera in my fursuit, but you kind of can't do that when it comes to leather crafting. I'm slowly going to be migrating over from YouTube into Twitch because I can actually engage with you guys better. I still need to figure that out, so I'm still going to be here on YouTube for a while, but if you are more YouTube inclined and not Twitch inclined, that is okay, because anything that I do on Twitch is going to be recorded, and then I will then upload it to YouTube the same night or next day, whatever. I haven't seen you guys in so long. Yeah, sorry, got sidetracked super hard. So we were talking about finishing touches on leatherwork. So one of the things that you can do, you can actually burnish the edges here and give them a nice, like, slick edge. You can kind of see that I did or had that. Again, this thing's had years of love. But there's something else we could do. Give me a second. So, it is obviously off camera. It's a heavy bastard. Granite. Good old granite. It's funny that you, and I noticed this in the camera, you call it a ceiling fan collector, because that's what's in the reflection right here. So, ceiling fan collector, say hello to a fellow ceiling fan up here. Don't get distracted by it. And also, you guys can see yourself in the reflection. That's actually the camera up there. Anyway, things and tricks in order to help with finishing up on leatherwork is you can actually stamp out the edges here and actually give them a nice crisp edge to it. It actually goes ahead and actually sinks the stitching into leather so it's nice and flat. We are actually going to do that with this. There we go. Audio is probably going to be super high, so I'm actually going to turn it down for you guys so you can hear it, but it'll be way muffled. And oh man, that was so far down that it wasn't even picking up my audio. But you can see how that is a nice flat edge. So we're gonna try to restore that on this now if camera will focus. And actually, after this, I might try to burnish it. We'll see. And particularly with this edge here, this is where there's a lot of concern. Also, Saturn, I saw your comment on there. Bye, buddy. Say hi to everyone else on the time crew. Let them know I'm going to be doing streaming again on Sunday mornings, which might be super early for you guys, but I'm working with what I got here, you know, in time. But it was good seeing you. So this area where we did the repair is my biggest concern. Because in this area of the repair, you know, I've got the stitching that actually would be like above the leather itself. So I want to make sure that's actually fairly flush. Got ourselves a nice repaired wallet now. Now I'm bumping the mic up so you guys can hear me. Oh yeah, Saturn. Yeah, it would be 8 a.m. over there. But yeah, I'm going to be streaming. Tell the rest of the guys I say hi. But with that, we got ourselves a repaired leather wallet. So we got ourselves a repaired wallet. Got ourselves a repaired phone case. You guys are going for a ride. Sorry about the noise. So we got ourselves a repaired phone case, wallet. Last thing that, you know, is kind of somewhat on my priority list, is actually some boot hooks. My work boots actually are they're awesome and pain in the ass all at the same time. You guys are gonna go for a higher ride. Hang on. Ooh, got a. There we go. Took you guys for a little ride. So the work boots that I got, what typically happens, and I've actually tripped at work several times over my own feet technically, is because what happens is that while this is laced up, these hooks actually, while walking, the laces on this will actually hook the laces on this, and then I'll end up tripping. But what happens is that these got bent and they actually got ripped out. So I need to fix these. Hi Cam. I'm assuming that hi was for me, and yes, I have my phone up with the chat so I can actually see what's going on as well. But we need to fix this, and this is going to be something that we end up fixing. Give me a second, because I'm not going to be salvaging those hooks. I got new hooks that I want to use. So what I need to do is I actually need to go ahead and I need to get these out, but because I'm not going to be salvaging these anyway, I quite frankly don't really give a care about them. So I'm just need to bust that rivet, and then this can come out. I was just curious of what those even looked like. Yeah, and this was even busted up too, so these actually can get taken out as well. So we're going to be doing what looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2 is 8. We're going to be doing 8 of these things because we're going to make these symmetrical on both ends. This may or may not need to be drilled out because it's the insides that always got caught, obviously, while walking. Let me see. Cam. Oh, hey. It's Voss. So good seeing you again. So Voss, what this is what we're repairing. The loops on my boots kept snagging on the laces, so obviously it was a trip hazard. But pretty much I would walk by, the lace would actually catch this hook in here. We'll bring this up so you can see it. It would catch the hook in here, and I would actually, as I'm walking, like this foot would move forward, the lace would catch that, and I would end up tripping. So it ended up ripping these out. But what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be replacing these hooks that they got there with a different set. And I need to do it on both sides. So the inside one, since that's obviously where I would be tripping from, that's actually needing to be replaced, but we're going to make this symmetrical, so we're going to do it on this side too. But in terms of how this is done, I've got my replacement rivets right here. Making sure that I got enough. Let's see, what would be left side, right side, left side, right side. Cool, 2 to spare. So these will go ahead and these will get sunk in. Yes, these will get sunk in here with rivets, which I'll figure the rivet situation out first. What I need to do before that is I need to get the other thing with these fixed first. Well, not fixed, but I need to get it destroyed first. And I'm looking at chat when I can. Yes. Yes, Cam, I saw your comment on there. Yes, I'm going to be slowly migrating to Twitch because for you guys, really, you can put comments on there, but that's in YouTube chats, but that's really it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's more that I can do with that. So what I'm going to be doing instead is that I'm actually going to be migrating over to Twitch. The reason being is that not only is there still a chat, but for those that are watching, they get channel points. They can actually redeem that for things in the chat to highlight your message or to like play an automated sound or something like that. So that's something that actually will work better for interacting with you guys. So that is why I'm slowly migrating over to Twitch. And obviously I'm not in a fursuit, and I'm still honoring kind of like the tradition, as it were, of not showing my face on stream, because that's kind of like the perk of what would otherwise be like seeing me in person. And I still want to honor that because that's something that I usually do on my interview or my live interview things that I do at Motor City FurCon. So in doing that, if my face is ever going to be on camera, I'm going to have, a mask on me. Obviously, I don't have it on now because good old coffee. But having a fursuit on when messing with things like leather dyes or needing to be like very up close and with this that I can have a clear line of sight on not obstructed. Yeah, I kind of can't be in a fursuit. And this is and doing leather work is something that I enjoy doing, so I figured, you know what? I could do my leather crafting stuff, and still do YouTube, Twitch, technically. So we're gonna knock out 2 birds with 1 stone in doing that. So hopefully that answers your question. Anyway, got sidetracked. Need to bust these out. That is probably gonna have to be a drill job. So you find out about how big this is. Way too big for what I'm doing. 5:30 seconds. That's a bit better. We'll go to the drill if I need to. I'm going to try not to. Because these popped off pretty easy just by using some leverage. So we're going to try to go with that. I'm going to try to see and figure out a way to do that. But if we can't... Aha! Wasn't sure if that was going to work. That's one. That's two. Now, all that stuff can get thrown away. Let's snag these. And when I get to the riveting stuff, I'll actually bring the camera closer to you guys too. Or I'll bring the work closer to you guys. Bring the camera closer, and that way you guys can see it. Come on, there we go. All right. Just got all of our old boot hooks off. Just need to, looking at the time, I got about 20 minutes, which is more than enough to get this done. That should be fairly easy. And setting these is probably going to be the biggest trick. So I need this, and where is... it's on the other side. Bear with me for a second. Rubber stamp mat. All right. I have to adjust a couple of things. Don't want to knock over the dirty bean juice. Just making sure I got enough room. All right. Don't need that. I need this and this. So, I actually could probably clean that up later. So, I'm using rivets. You have to use this special tool. They've got a dome side and cap side. So, yes. I'm gonna bring you guys closer. So, you can see that these have little like divots in there. They're all for the different sizes of rivets themselves. And where the catch with this is obviously when I'm setting this, I can't have, whether it's this side up, actually it is usually this side up, but that side up, go ahead and you have the boot in there, then this goes on top, and then you put the cap in, and then you stamp it in there. But I need to get this in there and get it to set, so it's a little bit of a trick. And going in from the back side doesn't work that well because, well, I have this hook here. I have this upside down, so it gets a little tricky. So I'm gonna try to see if I can figure this out. At least try. Or see if I can figure out a workaround. I think I know what I can do. I'm not on the fence about whether or not it will work. We'll give it a shot. So I'm lining up the rubber with the edge there. We're gonna hope that this works. And that up. That closes that. That actually might have done the trick. So now what I'm figuring out, now that I got that, I'm gonna try to get it so you guys can see it. So I have the smaller one that I had here in my hand. There's a bigger one, but it's got a longer stem, and I think that might be too long for what I want to do. Let's see how well this might work. It's gonna go that way. And then cap end. should be enough. All that is that just like lightly snaps in place. Obviously I just took that apart, but what I want to do is I want to hide, or at least kind of hide, this second hole here. Well, see, now I'm actually thinking about like the utility of actually having a second hole there where I can actually go ahead and put the laces through, but I shouldn't be doing that without a grommet, so we're just going to let that go to the wayside and not worry about it. Instead, we're just going to go in through this front hole here. So we're going to set that in there. Got that set in place. Make sure that's actually sitting in the cup. And when it comes to setting these, you don't need to go like multiple times. Usually it's just a solid 1-2 strike. So that's all it takes. So you got that set and we in business. That's one down. Let's do it again. Knowing what size we need now though, I'm gonna do 1. So I need 3 on this boot and then I need 4 on the other. And then the 3 caps and 1, 2, 3, 4 caps. Cool. I'm gonna adjust the camera so you guys can see a little bit better. So we're gonna go to the next hole. Yeah, that upper one is fine. Whoop. Almost didn't put the hook in. I'm just getting down and actually seeing if it's actually getting inside. Here we go, and so really the 1-2 strike is really just more of like the first one to kind of somewhat set it, and then the second strike really like fully sets it in place. So that's one down. Whoop. Going for a ride. Yeah, because I want to make sure that I don't have the rivets on here underneath the granite that will actually, you know, damage the hooks that are there. So I need to kind of make sure I have some room. Need to make sure I have room underneath that I'm not going to be damaging the hooks that I just set. Making sure I'm actually inside the cup on the anvil, because they actually have a flat side to this and a domed side to it. You don't want to make sure you actually have the domed side, because then that way you don't get a random flat spot on your hook. I gotta do it. Do it again. Do it. Got that. Make sure I'm sitting in the anvil. Got my dome side. That's sitting in there. And that's one boot. It's one boot that we got the fixed hooks on. We got one more to knock out. Alright. Making sure I got my parts all together. So got my 4 hooks, 4 stems, 4 caps. Cool. Actually, oh god, I didn't even need to have, good lord. Alright, well, you live and learn every time. Didn't even need to lift the granite. Take the win. And it's funny because I never have to like actually realize this. All the fucking marks on my hands actually is from my job, because once in a while I actually do have to get inside an engine bay, and there's a sharp plastic and metal that's in there and it marks up my hands. Oh, that was not the best strike. Glanced off on the second one. It's whatever. I'll live. And if it pops out, I know how to reset this. And by pops out, I mean like if the hook pops out while I'm using them. Alright. Making sure I'm actually set in the anvil. Dome side. And... for anyone looking or even considering leather crafting, let me tell you right now, this is not a cheap hobby in the slightest. It's not a cheap hobby, it's not a cheap business. I did make a business attempt on this years ago. Just hang on. It was just something that never panned out. Timing was terrible, because like I did it, I was doing it for about like a year, and then the pandemic happened. So at that point, I was just, nothing was happening. I got severely discouraged, and I was trying to do it like the right way, like with taxes and shit, and trying to track it, and it was just too much for me. So I just said, I'm done with it. I'm not doing it as a business venture. Normally, you don't want to be doing 3 strikes. Cool. That is... And that's one of the things that I don't mind about rivets, is that this can actually still, these can actually still like rotate and shift a bit. It'll like, yeah, that one's still quote unquote like stuck down like that. You know, I could actually go ahead and I could just shift that up, you know, and then that way when I'm actually tying them, you know, they'll still hook properly. So, got fixed set of boots. Nice. Cool. So we got ourselves fixed set of boots. Going for a ride. Now we got some stuff we can knock out the list. So, what we can do, can take out the boot hooks, take out the phone case, take out the wallet. The armature here is what you guys are currently riding on. Table organization, mounting the tumblers. I'll show you what I'm referring to that, organizing the punches. This is probably just going to be over the course of the next couple of weeks. This is probably going to be a different day. May or may not be on camera. This, I could probably do a little bit right now, just because it is 12:20. But, I'll show you what I'm referring to in terms of the tumblers. So, got boots, phone case, and wallet is somewhere else. All that is, it's over there. Give me a second. So I'm just getting that stuff off the table and out of the way. Alright. So the tumblers I'm talking about are these. In the old workshop that I had, what I did is that I actually had mounted these up on the ceiling, so that when I needed something, hence why I call them tumblers, these literally tumble around. I've got stuff written on them and labeled, so I could actually just do a half turn on these come out, and then they have the hardware that I need. So, I need to figure out what and where I want to do with these. I think what I want to do is go for a ride.
on this, I think I might mount them here. Not exactly, I'm looking around the room. Not exactly the best or easiest thing to access, but it's one of the spots where I actually have free wall space. Because other than that, I have no idea where I'm placing these. I don't have an idea. But these are the tumblers that I'm referring to. I have two of them. And the punches that I'm referring to, I'll show you guys that in a second, are these. That's way too far. You guys gotta be looking down for a second. Is this. This is one of the other things I'm going to be organizing, and this whole thing is on that little display thing that I had there. It's actually something that I got from a leather supplier, but all these are different types of like designs of punches that I have, and I've got a ton of them in there. I nearly get this whole thing filled with that stuff. So that actually might be next week's kind of like craft project, is doing that. Last thing that I wanted to show you guys, I measured the measuring mat, because the table's fairly cleared out, but the measuring mat that I use when doing my leather crafting stuff is that. That is a 56 by 33 mat. And then what happens, sorry about the noise, knocked the microphone over. Oh no. So then what happens is that this whole thing, or at least a good chunk of it, gets that mat placed on it. So I constantly have a 1 inch by 1 inch grid on the table that I could actually measure stuff out and cut, and I actually have a proper cutting mat underneath it, so I'm not having to damage the table actually underneath. So with that, we're sitting at 1222, and honestly, that is probably where I'm, for the most part, going to be ending this. And I saw your comment on there, boss. Thank you. Granted, you could have been mentioning the that's pretty cool on any number of things. Could have been mentioning it on the boots, any number of things that I got, but what I'm planning on doing is that the next time that you guys come in, this table will be mostly cleared, and I'll actually have the grid mat that was down there actually on here, and then we can go through and do some sorting and organizing of this. I may have another project that I can do as well that is leather crafting. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I will let you guys know what that is on Twitter when that happens. Again, slowly making the migration over into Twitch over time, mainly that just being able to interact with you guys. So thank you so much for joining in. Stay tuned for just a second, because actually in the description of the video, actually below the banner, there's a link that goes to Alkali and Zanny. They actually have a Twitch channel. They're doing a Sunday brunch where they get to hang out, chat with you guys, interact with you guys, and get some comedic entertainment out of that. Voss, if I'm not mistaken, you actually might already be following them. If not, it's Alkali and Zanny. They're always going to be a riot. So definitely take a look at them. We'll go ahead and get you guys navigated over there. I can't do that. You guys have to click the link there, but tell them that I sent you. And that I'm doing the crafting things here, and that I forward you over to them, and that I say hi. I'll be in there in the chat with you guys as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one. See you in the chat at Alkali and Zanny's place.